So the question is Maharshi Dayanand's treatment of Mukti and Moksha. They are same words in Sanskrit. We have words like Kevalya, used by Patanjali in Yoga Sutra, and also we have Nirvana and Upward. There are many words that sound for the same meaning. It's basically liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So, in Vedic view, this is not our only life. We had previous life, then we died, and we are born in the present life, and then we will die again. That is, death is inevitable, and then I will be born again. So, one who wishes to gets out of this cycle of birth and death, then that is called Mukti, Moksha, etc., etc. So Mahesh Dayananda wrote a book. It's in Hindi. It is called Satyat Prakash. Its English translation is Light of Truth, which is for a general layperson. So he laid bare the Vedic principles for our guidance. And in the ninth chapter of that book, he is discussing this. Let me show you that part. And the question relates to uh, that, yes, the treatment is very well there, but it's slightly lengthy. And then how do we, what is the real focal point on that? Let's try to understand. So the question here is, yet we work. I think it's not a very good translation, but though the return from, still it is. Now there is a heading number 16. What are the means of obtaining emancipation? So emancipation is another English word like liberation, salvation, and there are many other terms. But we want to use the term mukti and moksha because that is very well defined in the Vedic terminology. Now, in answer to this, the author is writing, some of them have already been mentioned, but the special means are the following. So please look at this. This is carefully to be read here. The means of obtaining. This is not one particular, it's not in the language of cause and effect. It is there are certain means, they have to be covered, and then finally you are in the last step. So the treatment is obviously lengthy because he is listing a number of things. Now the first thing he says is, let him who desires emancipation be emancipated now in this life. In other words, let him renounce all those evil or sinful actions such as untruthfulness in speech that lead to misery and pain, and let him instead always live a virtuous life and do such good deeds as lead to happiness. Let him who wants to escape from pain and enjoy happiness abandon sin and practice righteousness, because sin is the cause of pain and suffering, whilst righteousness begets happiness. Let him always associate with men of, so let him always, so these are kind of associate with men of great learning and pity, and thereby studiously know truth from untruth, virtue from vice, and right from wrong. I hesitate to show the English Hindi version, but because I have grown up with that version, and when I see this particular translation, it's not so good really. So please allow me to just to pick up a few words from his original Hindi version. So Hindi version, he is saying that mukti ke kya kya sadhana, what are the means of that? Then his, the first is vivek, which has been highlighted here. So I will say the author wants to say that the very first step one has to inculcate in his life is vivek, And Vivek is English word will be wisdom. Wisdom is to discriminate between something, discriminate between right and wrong, truth and falsehood. That's what we saw here: truth and untruth, virtue and vice, right and wrong, etc. So he is now talking about Vivek. So if I were to, list it somewhere, I will say, let me make notes here: means of Mukti. Then I will say, the first is Vivek, which is wisdom. Now, in this category, he is writing many things. So, I want to try to make it a summary of it so that we have in things in focus. I'm not sure. Are you able to see this PowerPoint file?
No, we're looking at the
Oh,
English translation
oh, you are, yeah. So,
PDF.
I think I have to new share. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for confirming. So, we will go together and make sense out of this lengthy answer. The question is, what are the means of mukti or, moksha? He is using in this particular context one of these two words. So he's saying that first thing is I have to inculcate Vivek. Now, within Vivek, he is saying that, uh, I should, the usual discrimination between right and wrong, etc. And now let's see what is he. So I'm again switching back to his translation. Then he says the physical system, which comprises of tissues and this body frame, what is our body, and it is gross physical body. So in actually he is writing about five koshas, five sheets. So the first of them is called Annamaya Kosh, the body layer, the body sheath, then pranic sheath, and then he is listing the five members in the prana domain: prana, pan, saman, vyan, and udan. And then he is talking about, this is called Manomaya Kosh, where this is our mind, but outer part of mind that activates the motor organs. And then this is Vijnanmaya Kosh. This is inner part of mind where I acquire knowledge. That's where Buddhi and Chitta residing. And finally, the fifth layer is the called Anandamaya Kosh, where I am disconnect from my mind, then I am in that infinite ocean of that supreme bliss. So these are, so he's trying to tell the Vivek, the wisdom I should gather should be of so that I know myself in a total sense and I know all my domains. So all five domains that surround me, my self, my consciousness. So I don't want to list here five, you can say sheets or layers. And I am enveloped by these five layers, but so I am actually the sixth entity, namely my Purush, my Atma Tattva. So within the Vivek, he says you should have this discriminating ability and then have a good knowledge of who am I in total sense. Now let me move again to the his translation. So we are listing what we are learning from his narration, his answer. Then he says, let him realize, now I am at number 4, let him realize that there are three states or phases of the soul. Now, we are in three, once I know I am in the 24 hours span, I pass through three different distinct phases of life in a 24-hour window. And even the layperson is aware of, I am wakeful, like at this point we are very alert. Then I am in a swapna avastha, this is dream phase, when I am bodily inactive, but mind is still doing something, maybe very haphazard. And when body and mind both are at rest, then I am in Sushupti. This is slumbering phase. So now he lists, let me again go to that uh, slide and add within the wisdom. Now he says, I should know my three states. I'm just, wakeful, dream, and a deep sleep, Let's see. So these are, I should become a wise person with a good understanding of about, it's all coming under within who am I, so to say. Uh, let's proceed further. So I'll be doing back and forth. I hope you are able to bear with me. Now we are at our item 5. There are four kinds of bodies. So this was partly covered in the 5 sheets, but now he is taking it up again, that this is my physical body, what is called Sthul Shayi. These are technical terms. Dr. Mehta will pick up, sure. This is called Sukshma Shayi. And within Sukshma Shayi is, the mind part, and where it is further what is called Karan Shayi. And that has also been, this is Bhautik and this is Abhautik, so to say. This is non-material. And then the third is uh, casual body. Actually, it is a misprint. It should be causal body. The Sanskrit term is Karan Shayi. That is because, you know, I, I, I am in my innermost domain. I There is something in my deposits that I have to have a body. I am still in bondage. So that is the minimum thing I have even after I die. And this is what brings me back into life. And then this is the, of course, the list was, this is the four kinds of bodies. So this actually the translation should be Tujiya, Riya. So this is my real self, so to say. That is what is that needs the body and mind when I am in bondage. So this is my push, so to say, what I am alone. So if I were to list there are four possessions or four bodies. This has some overlap with 5 sheets, but let's continue with so I have just typed a new word, four bodies, which has an overlap with B. So we will now go back to the translation. This coverage is in 4 or 5 pages. So let's see. I hope. Now the soul itself is distinct from all the above mentioned systems. So he is now having described the 5 sheets, 4 bodies, and 3 different states that I go through. He is emphasizing that me, myself, is distinct from all the systems that we have discussed. The soul alone, and okay, we can skip this part. They can never feel any pain nor pleasure, nor can they do anything. So what he's saying is, when I am disconnect from all these sheets and layers and bodies, no pleasure or pain, nothing can strike me. Because sukh and dukh, pleasure and pain is basically a state of mind. So when I am disconnect from mind, then I am out of dukh and sukh. So he's just trying to say that this is good in the direction of mukti because I want to get away from all pain and misery. When the senses come in contact, it is the voice of divine spirit. So that is now here, the above constitutes the first means of. So this was first means under the broad category of Vivek. Hmm? Now he says the next means is Vairagya. Vairagya is an antidote of rag. When I have acquired detachment. So in Vivek, I have duality. There are two things. There's me and my body and my mind and so on and so forth, made of matter, what is called Purush and Prakriti. So getting to know them distinctly, these two different things, is generating the wisdom Vivek. And now that I know that I am actually something within these five sheets, within these four bodies, and I don't go through the states of wakeful, sleep, etc. This is the states of my body and mind. So I am different from all of this. Now I have some idea that I want to proceed. Having, Vivek is the very first basis, so that I am slightly motivated to walk towards the direction of Mukti and Moksha. Now, walking is the first step, is Vairagya. So, if I were to, so Vairagya is next. It consists in the practice of truth and enunciation of untruth after carefully discriminating. In other words, so in Vivek, we are seeing there are two different paths of life, but in Vairagya, I am now bold enough, empowered enough to walk on the one particular path and announcing the other path, you know. So that is what is Vairagya. So if I were to uh, go to this slide, I will say, we are trying to get uh, a big picture in a very small sheet, so that I feel that yes, I have understood what the author is trying to say. So this is Vairagya now, which English translation will be detachment or enunciation. This is not one time thing, this is way of life. This is way of life. This happens when you are, not necessarily, but when you are 60, 70 years ago, and you have had all in the life, there was not any kind of, you were not deprived of anything. You were able to enjoy all the material pleasures of life. And now you feel that enough is enough. So, it comes from within. And then nothing, worldly thing is of any interest to you. So when such a thing, so of course, this is next after. This is a discrimination between two things, and now this is your bold statement of walking the one particular path and not the other. Now with these two means under your fold, let's continue his. Now we say Shatak Sampatti. So now you have Sampatti is your wealth, so to say, and this is sixfold. So once you are walking this path of Vairagya, what are the milestones coming? That he is listing now. So Sham is restraining one's soul and mind, from the temptations of life. So now you are practicing it. You can see it. Dham is keeping the body and senses aloof from all sorts of evil temptations. So this is staying away from your mind, and this is staying away from active phase, that your sensory organs are not really participating in it. Upayati is you are seeing the world, but you are slightly out of the world, you know, and you are not, you see many things in the world, but you are away from it. You are, you know, not in the physical sense, but you are not quite participating in many things happening in the world. And titiksha is now you are not even interested in anybody's um, uh, nice remarks or praise or any applause. You are just not interested in all this. So these are the typical worldly things that any human being is participating in it, but because of your vivek and vairagya, you are aloof from all this. And samadhan is adhan means your mind is very focused on one path, one destination, that is the mukti, and you are away from, you are really going in that direction. So you have two wheels of your bicycle or your chariot, vivek and vairagya, and now you are moving in that direction. So these are sort of, I will say, mind milestones in that direction. Now this all leads to mumukshatva. So this is a technical word in our vocabulary. Let me, so the third was you are you are definitely, you have ability, sorry, so the above two allow you to gain the ability to stay away from worldly temptations. Okay, now this, if all 1, 2, 3 have been going well, it gives rise to, he is using a word, mumukshutva. This is a technical term, sorry, mumukshat. In Sanskrit grammar, if there is a very strong desire for something, then the root has a duality. This you see, mu and mu is coming towards, and mu you can see is like mukti. So there are different words. Dr. Mehta will understand when I say like jigyasa, pipasa. Jigyasa is a strong desire to learn. Pipasa is strong thirst and you want water. So mumukshatva is now, there is nothing else in the world that interests you except progress in this particular direction. So the first three means having been acquired properly lead to fourth. So this is step by step. One leads to two, two leads to three, three leads to four. So now you are like you are loving, you say you are in love with something, then sometimes 24/7, that is, you eat, drink and sleep with that particular thing in your mind, is it not? So we know all this. As a child, as a adult, we have gone through these phases in our life, but now as a mature person, the same thing is with me, but now it is something out of the world, and I say that that's what I am always towards this. Nothing else interests me anymore now. Like somebody is very, very thirsty. He cannot think of anything but water, is it not? So think of that sort of a situation. So that's what this is now. Let me go back to his translation now, uh, and we will read it further. So he's saying now, this is mumukshatva, and then he gives a criteria of it. This is now fourfold criteria, that if you really have mumukshatva, then these are called anubandha. It's like a contract. Now you are as if you have a contract with the Ishwar, so to say. So because you are, that's the only other party in your mind, and it shows up in four sub steps. There are kind of four subdivisions, that adhikari, now you are worthy to be on this path. You have sambandh. Sambandh is you are tied up to this particular destination, and vishayi means there is nothing else that can occupy your mind. Of course, throughout the day you are functioning with body and mind, but this realization of Ishwar is the only thing that, kind of matters to you. Prayojan is, this is what you are so much, that this is the only way I can get away from pain and misery of the world. So you are so much bonded to this path. The path is mumukshatva. So within this, these are, sort of subdivisions that you are going through. And again, so these steps are being elaborately described so that I can see these milestones. Yes, some of this is happening with me, and now they are as if you want to be with him, and now there are fourfold of, you know, getting to be with him or getting to know him. Shravan is hearing. I hear I like to hear only those kind of teachings which take me on this path. And when I have heard them, like say Kapil or Patanjali's teaching, then I want to think over them. That is deep contemplation, or I will say review. This is more deep contemplation, nididhyasan. And then I really, as if I realize what Patanjali has said, yes, I indeed, Sakshatkaran is, I have seen it. These are not mere words, I have seen it now. So that is kind of his coverage, that what all is required for one to succeed in the direction of mukti. And then he just gives some standard other remarks. Let him always renounce qualities and habits that are the result of the darkness of. So, he is now coming to the mind, and it's what is called chitta, which is the gunatmak. So, he's saying this is satogun, rajogun, and tamogun. So, now he's saying you be slightly more alert and you kind of discard the tendencies of tamogun and rajogun and just build up satogun. Of course, our buddhi or chitta is basically rich in sattva, but that is in the worldly sense. But when I am in this category of a person, I want to make it uh, still more rich in sattva and take away extra amount of rajogun and tamogun. And then he is finally saying, let him be friends with happy. This is translation of Patanjali's statement, one point that is 1.33, Mati Karuna Mudita Upeksha. So you are, uh, you know, you are compassionate to those who are in pain and distress. This is Karuna. You are friendly to those who are in happy. So this is Mati towards Sukhi. This is Karuna, compassion towards those who are in distress. And Mudita, you love those who are good and virtuous people. And then you are, kind of aloof from those who are not so good people. So this is translation of Patanjali's statement 1.33. And then he is saying, finally, let the seeker of the salvation devote at least 2 hours daily to meditation of, what we say in Hindi original, he must be saying upasana. So, the original thing is we have covered all this, sambandh vishayi, and then he is here, yeah. नित्य प्रति न्यून से न्यून 2 घंटा पर्यंत मुमुक्षु ध्यान अवश्य करे जिससे भीतर के मन आदि पदार्थ साक्षात हो. So that's what we have seen. This is devoting at least 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening to meditation, so that you have what is calling as sampajyat yoga, getting to know the subtle things out of sakshatkar, what is called sampajyat yoga. And then he is finally saying, uh, uh, mentally see all the subtle principles within the body, I will say within the body and mind, Yeah, this is what, such as principle of thought. How do we think, etc. Then he's saying we are conscious beings, therefore it is that we can acquire and possess knowledge and see exactly whatever state the mind, the manas is in. As for instance, tranquil or restless, happy or so various states of our mind. Similarly, we are conscious of the. So this is our meditation practice that allows us to know what all we go through, and that is nothing but transient of our mind. Now, finally, he comes to this is what is the cause of mukti. Up till now, these were means of mukti. Now, finally, the cause of mukti is the burning of the sheets of the klesh. So now he says this kind of meditation practice will take you to asampajyat yoga, and then these klesh, which are the seeds in my ahankar, that will get burned away. In the world, there are 5 kinds of klesh. This is avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, avinivesh. And then he says, let every man free himself from these 5 kinds of klesh by means of the practice of yoga and the acquisition of spiritual knowledge, the realization of Ishwar, and enjoy the supreme. So this is the end of his answer. So where now, if I were to go back to that slide where we were trying to capture his meaning in a short form. So after mumukshatva, we saw that there were, within this we saw there were 4 adhikaris, so to say, 4, um, uh, yeah, I remember something like that. And then there were 4 uh, layers of learning. That was like hearing and shravan and manan and nididhyasan and sakshatkar. And now he says the practice of Patanjali Yoga. Now this goes through stages of Sampajyat Yoga, Sampajyat Yoga, where you get to know the subtle principles of mind, and then finally the Asampajyat Yoga, yoga and culmination of that is that burns away the seeds of 5 klesh. So in one sheet, if I this is how I will try to capture what he's trying to say. So first is Vivek, then that helps you know 2 paths, then your intention to walk on one path, that is Vairagya. Only when you are empowered with Vairagya, you can walk on the path of Mukti. And as you walk along, you have ability to stay away from worldly temptations. And then you are in a category that you are really mumukshu. And if you are mumukshu, then you will know it because such things will happen. And then he's saying minimum 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. You should be practicing the Patanjali Yoga meditation practice. And there the passage, the milestones will be this and this that we are quite familiar. We have discussed it many times here. So I hope this answers the question. This was a lengthy answer, but it took about 40 minutes, but I think it required because he has given a wide coverage to it. Anything else we can discuss?